everybody, Sean from Movie Assault here, and it's time once again for another video. This time out, it is episode 13 of the Halloween 15 for 2024. And this time around, I'm going to take a look at 2021's The Cursed, starring Boyd Holbrook and Kelly Reilly and Alistair Petrie. This is a movie that I discovered at Big Lots, of all places. I saw the Blu-ray sitting on the shelf, and it was, you know, at Big Lots, so I saw it sitting alongside a lot of B movies, a lot of movies that weren't really well regarded critically. So I bought it with the expectation that it would probably be pretty bad. And I remember when I showed it to you guys in one of my haul videos that I said I didn't really have high hopes for it. And someone, I think multiple people, commented and said that it was really good. So I decided to include it in this year's Halloween 15, and I'm glad I did. I was pleased to see that it has really good production quality. It is not a B movie at all. And I didn't realize at the time that I bought it that Boyd Holbrook and Kelly Reilly from Narcos and Yellowstone, respectively, are in the movie. So that was a nice surprise. This tells the story of a village in rural France. There's actually a landowner, a wealthy land baron, played by Alistair Petrie. His name is Seamus Laurent. And he is notified that a group of Romani, clan of Romani people, have taken up residence on his land, and they say they have a claim to the ownership of the land. Well, this angers Seamus, so he assembles a group of villagers and slaughters them, which is, you know, what nice people do. But it turns out that the woman who is, I guess, the spiritual leader of the clan puts a type of curse on them, or on Seamus and his family, and the children of the village, of which Seamus is sort of like the, I guess, like sort of the governor of. I'm not really sure how rural French villages work, but he's sort of the caretaker of, or the employment provider of. The children of the village start having this shared dream of a scarecrow, and that's because one of the Romanis that was killed was brutally hacked up and made into a human scarecrow. And they all have this dream about the scarecrow. They all see this shared vision of something buried at the base of the scarecrow. And this dream sets into motion this series of events that leads to the disappearance of Seamus's son, Edward. A pathologist is called in, and he's played by Boyd Holbrook. He's called in to investigate the disappearance of Edward, and he also discovers the body of a dead boy who looks like he's been mauled by a wolf. And as he's investigating both the disappearance and this animal mutilation case, other things start happening, and it becomes pretty obvious that what McBride is dealing with and what Seamus and his family are dealing with is something that is definitely not human, and it definitely has Seamus and his family in its sights. That's all I'm going to say about the plot of The Cursed. This is a movie that I was pleasantly surprised by, not only that because I had such low expectations of it initially, but that it is the very definition of a slow burn horror film. It takes its time. Sean Ellis, who was also responsible for Anthropoid, he is the writer, the director, and the cinematographer for this film. And he really takes his time setting up and building the world of the film. There are many scenes where the camera is allowed to linger over the countryside. There's a lot of mists and shadows and fog. So there's a lot of atmospherics to this. It's sort of a gothic horror film. It takes place in the late 1800s. I don't know if I mentioned that. So everything is, you know, there's no electricity. Everything is lit by torch or candlelight. When it gets dark, everything gets real eerie fast. But even in what is supposed to be broad daylight, everything is sort of muted, and the color palette is really kind of dull. And that's not to crack on the movie. I really thought it was very effective in the way that it's lit and photographed. But scenes are allowed to breathe. Characters are allowed to have quiet time. And I really think that this does an excellent job of just letting things come together at their own pace. Some may find that the definition of boring. I didn't. I thought it was really interesting. But even though it does move kind of slowly, it's really effective, and it kind of reels you in. If you don't have an attention span, and if you don't make it to the end of my video, for example, you probably won't like this film. But for fans of gore, you will be pleasantly surprised, because this is a fairly gory movie. And that was a surprise as well, because usually if a film is going to take its time and dote on cinematography and things like that, you would think that it would be less inclined to get down and dirty with gore and special effects. Well, that's not the case here. So this is definitely a movie with... it's a movie that I would highly recommend that you watch with all of the lights out. Watch it in the middle of the night. The sound design is really good. There's a lot of eerie noises that emanate from the dark and the shadows and the woods, the wilderness. The performances, while they're not spectacular, they don't really need to be. This is a film that is built on atmosphere. The characters are not particularly well drawn, but again, they don't need to be. This is kind of a new take on the werewolf picture. And when I say it's a new take on the werewolf picture, it's billed as a werewolf movie, but it doesn't really follow all the lore of the werewolf. So there are some twists that are allowed to be introduced into the movie, because it doesn't have to follow the rules. There are no rules, and that's another thing that I liked about it. So you don't know what's coming. You don't know what's going to happen. There are jump scares, but there's a lot of just effective, just scary stuff going on in this movie, and I highly recommend it. I think it's really well worth watching, well worth seeking out. I picked it up for $3.99 at Big Lots. It's available on Hulu to watch if you have that. Definitely check it out, but I'm going to give The Cursed an 8 out of 10. Really worth seeing, and one of the biggest surprises of this year's Halloween 15. So check it out. There you go. That is my review of The Cursed from 2021. And if you like this video and any of the other videos that you've seen on my channel, please consider subscribing. And as always, take it easy. Thanks for watching. See ya.